We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday. We've got a guest you've seen a lot recently. His name is Will. And if I was to say he was itching to get back on, that would be an understatement. He's been bugging me about it for a couple of days, and we had these other
Yeah,
guests. I
I've
said,
been a pest.
well,
Yeah,
not a
I've been.
past. Oh, it's always good to
Yeah.
hear from you and have you on the show. But
No, you've been busy. I saw that.
ever since what happened, you've been chomping at the bit. So go.
Yeah, it's just that. I mean, we were right. I'm going to say that when you're talking to old Saul the other day, you stand by what you said. I stand
Oh
by
yeah.
what I said. With Biden, I think he would still would have won the election. It would have been closer. Um, but I have never. Your fear and my fear was that they were going to do this and come up with some convoluted bullshit, bring in a bunch of people, spend 2 months fighting while the Republicans are sitting there, eating peanuts.
Right.
Um, they didn't,
No, and there
and
and there
that
was
was
there was some concern too. That was my greatest concern. I said, if you're going to
yeah.
have Joe step aside, it's got to be Kamala. I mean,
And AOC,
whether she's the best candidate or not, it's the only logical choice. And they were
it,
talking about jumping over her, and
yeah,
that made me nervous.
AOC put up the red flag
Yeah.
because and we're gonna because that's the past because I want to look at the future. But a couple of things you said and I kind of laid in. I think even Old Soul was correct in her thing. And oh my God, one quick thing: that woman is a saint.
Yeah, she is.
That woman got herself that whole thing she was describing in Arkansas. All I kept thinking about was the in the 50s and 60s the integration of schools,
Right.
the people screaming at them, threatening them, the integration in the 70s in Boston, all that. And I kept hearing her describe that. I'm going, and that's what's going on in those states at this point when they're basically have fallen back
Yeah.
into the late 50s, early 60s. They've
My
fallen back into
my
that.
question always is why? I mean, you've got a life, you live in Las Vegas, you got a family, you got women coming in that you're taking care of, but still you go to Texas to help out with domestic abuse victims. That's admirable. And then you go to Arkansas to help with the vote and get the abortion uh,
Yeah,
uh,
and that was a fucking punk. That was a bullshit move.
yeah,
Republicans will cheat. That was a bullshit move.
it was. But
Why?
then she goes and gets
Yeah.
wild child in the middle of all this stuff. How the fuck does she have time?
And on that sense, someone find out who that church is and call the cops.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know what she's trying to do, and they're trying to. No, call the police, call the
But
cops. Let's
but you're
get that
calling
done.
but you're calling cops in Texas. What good does that do?
After the whole Uvalde thing, yeah,
You would hope so.
yeah, that's still it's still that's still smarts. Um, but yeah, to back up on everything, and I have admired her because some people are just called to that.
Yeah.
Some people are just called to do that. Like let's face it, Biden was a good example of that. Some people are called to, and some people are selfless and they put themselves in harm's way. She would have been at home in the 60s with the Freedom Riders.
She
She
would
would have
have.
been on the Pettus Bridge. She would have been there while I'm getting arrested. That's she's carrying the spirit of the ancestors, if you want to see that, for those people who walked before her. So I admire that.
She certainly
Um,
is.
so that's and those people like that still are on the ground and they're trying to help, even though it's kind of seems it doesn't seem pointless, but it seems helpless for
Let me
everyone. That's
let,
tough.
let me ask you a question because I
Mhm.
know where I was. I was in a mall looking for a flower girl dress with my wife and my son,
Mhm.
my granddaughter. And when I heard that Joe Biden chose to step aside, that's all I heard at that point. Where were you when you heard that? And what was your
I w-
thoughts?
I wish I had gone shopping. I was getting stuff for dinner, so I wasn't listening to any news or anything. I was listening to Sirius, listening to music while I was, buying stuff for groceries. And when I got home, that's when I first checked it, and I saw that. And the first thing I said, "Oh, motherfucker."
I did
I
too.
was pissed because I knew because all I saw was chaos. because I knew what was going to happen. Because the one thing that I knew was going to happen, he was pushed out by the elite, and as again, going Oso said, those people on top are no better than the Republicans. They're trying to
I agree.
they pushed him out, and he gave in, and he gave into it. What I didn't realize is that those people thought they had him. What they didn't know, he backdoored him so bad it was ridiculous. I know they had other people in charge. I know they had a list from their donors. This is who we want to see who will kowtow to us. And don't what about Kamala? Don't worry about it. No one will care. I know that's what was going on in their minds. I know that was in Schumer's mind, Pelosi's mind,
I
all those
agree.
in charge. I knew it was in their minds. All right. And don't give me people are saying, they took them 2 days to back up Kamala Harris. And while they were just waiting, they don't want a coronation. They don't want Republicans. Fuck what the Republicans think.
Yeah.
Fuck, they were going to say something anyway, and they said it anyway. You guys were waiting to see if it would fall apart. I know what you were fucking doing. Don't
Well,
don't don't bullshit me.
I've always said that Joe Biden is slow, he stutters, but he's a wily motherfucker. He knows that business better than anybody. And when he waited an hour, and then
Hmm.
he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm back in Kamala Harris," that was the pivot
But
point. That was
then I
absolutely
can't
genius.
believe that he did that in a vacuum because my thinking, and maybe history will find it later. They always do in the background. But I think he knew he was going to do this because, and I'm going to kind of spin forward. I watched Kamala Harris's speech about after a meeting with Netanyahu,
Yeah,
and she said everything that Joe Biden has been saying, but it was clear, concise, and everyone got it this time
right. I
because there
agree.
was no one saying, "Oh, he jumped over a word. Oh, he stuttered. Oh, he doesn't sound like he knows what he's doing." She got up there in that speech, spoke to Netanyahu. And by the way, those people are saying, "Oh yeah, hi, Brian Kellermead. How's your career going? Because it's about to end."
Yeah,
Colored sorority, my ass.
yeah,
She didn't want to go to that meeting because that was a Republican called meeting. Democrats didn't show up. They knew what that bullshit was.
right.
Netanyahu didn't even speak to the president. He went in on his own. Fuck him. He's trying to survive. But she did meet with him, and they're saying, well, they're only letting her meet it because she's running for president. Yeah, it works like that, dumbasses. And that's the thing. They keep giving us this shit, and we're all going, and? See, that's the thing that they're about to find out. It's all and. But she gave that speech, and I listened to the entire thing. And it was concise, it was precise, it was exactly what Joe Biden has been doing for the last year and a half.
Right.
And she was clear. And I started to think, I hate to say it, but this was the best move because she got the point across and no one is going to question what she said.
No,
It was clear as a bell.
and I think it did a couple of things. They needed her to come out and look presidential,
Oh,
and
hell,
she
she
did.
did.
And she did.
Oh, man.
I think she said the same thing Joe said, but I think it hit home better this way because
Yes.
people are too worried about, oh, Joe's old. Why wait? Watch him slip. She's very to the point, concise, and direct. She
This is what
said
you
what
get.
she said. And she also
It's,
proved that she does know something about it, that she's involved with this because they were
and
saying she didn't know anything about it.
and so it goes back to I cannot going back to that Sunday when everything hit the fan and an hour wait. But I'm thinking at that point, well, great, here comes the fight because there's no way they're going to roll over. And then all this stuff happened within 24 hours. All the endorsements from the so-called other probable ones. All the money started to roll in. That is not. I know people want to say just popped out of nowhere. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Joe Biden did two things. He knew during the Republican convention he was going to do it. So he told her, they came up with a plan. And don't, I'm not buying this bullshit with all these people. He doesn't talk to her. And somewhat people saying that, well, the vice president isn't in on briefings. You stupid asses. They get all the same presidential security briefs every day because
No.
she's the vice president. She has to be ready.
Right.
Dummies. But I think he sat down with her. Okay, this is what I'm going to do for you, Kamala. We have to, I can't do it. I think I'm being pushed, but I think the best thing for us, let's come up with a plan. and they are already contacted Newsom, Shapiro, all the people there, Mark Kelly, all those people, they're already talking to him. So he goes, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to endorse you, and then we're going to roll." And all of a sudden, it rolled. And you cannot tell me Act Blue all of a sudden was, it came out of blue. They're taking money from Harris. You can't tell me those guys automatically got on the phone right after and did it. No, this was planned. They backdoored the Democratic leaders, and they backdoored them hard to the point they had to say, what? No, that the only time, and like when Joe Manchin popped his fucking head out and said, "Hey," and they all said, "Fuck you, sit down." And then your boy, Dean Phillips, the other day
Yeah.
came up, "Well, what about this?" Shut up. No one knows who you are. No one cares because the
Right.
ball rolled. And what happened was, I've never seen what it was like, I think they gave permission for every person of color, female, to go, "We can do this."
Right.
And they also had seen, and I think one of us that they seen how they felt Joe Biden had gotten pretty screwed over because they still would have supported him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just rolled up. My God, today I just saw they had a, you know, white women for meeting like they've had
Right.
with all the other. They broke Zoom. They fucking broke Zoom.
I
And I
know.
was worried. That was the thing I was really worried about because I've been, leave it to the media. They went to Wisconsin after the Harris's speech and found 4 women for Trump's. And I watched those 4 women and I'm going, they're all white and they're all like in Trump's thing. And they're afraid that she's going to appeal to minorities and young. And I looked at him going, and the stat that keeps popping in my head, 53% of white women voted for Trump in 2020. And I'm like going, is that going to be a problem? But I don't think it
No,
is.
not with Roe v. Wade. You know, what I found interesting about this was, um, the moment he said he stepped aside, my wife, everybody I talked to was upset. They were crying.
Hmm.
They feeling bad for Joe Biden. And I'm going, just hold on a minute. Let's see what plays out here. And so then all of a sudden he endorses Kamala, and that rock starts rolling down that hill, and it starts getting momentum and starts getting bigger and bigger, and it's going down that hill. And the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries and all these people that were trying to push Joe out and probably looking for somebody else to stop in,
Hmm.
finally they step up and they say, "I endorse Kamala," not because they were going to endorse her initially, but because they saw that rock rolling down the hill. They better
Yeah.
get on board or get
And
run the
and
fuck over.
again, I don't think that was done in a vacuum. I think in addition
No.
to calling those people, he called all the party chairs in the background, telling this is what's going to happen. And all the party chairs popped up and said, "Yeah, we're behind her. We're behind her." And I think that's what drove the momentum. And also, yeah, I mean, there's no way in my mind that was what's the word? Either instantaneous or instantaneous. No,
No.
no, no.
No,
That was a really well planned.
I think Joe was angry that these people were doing this to him. And that's why Joe is pretty wily. He knows that business better
Mhm.
than anybody in Washington, D.C. He's got more experience than anybody. And it was kind of a fuck you to them. Okay, you want me out, but we're going to do it my fucking way. And that's
And we're gonna
exactly what
do it
happened.
with, and then it took them a couple of days to do it. Barack Obama, which I think was behind it too, hasn't done it yet, but I kind of get the point. They want to do it at the DNC because I think that would be a huge
Or at least
boost.
next week to keep the thing
Oh
flowing.
yeah, keep it going because that was it was a and so and then there's a twofold thing to that. In addition to sticking it to the leadership. Oh, by the way, to the Democratic leadership, as a couple of people I heard, a couple of people I heard the other today. Um, you did this. They're a great group. Frangela, they're 2 comedians, but they're really politically active. And she said, "Look, at the barbecue, you have a fight. You're going to have a fight. Have a fight in the house. Don't do it on the front lawn. Don't show everyone your business."
Right.
And she goes, "You showed everyone our business. You did this in the open. All right." And then we got back in the house and settled it. She said, and I agree that I got a list.
I do
I got
too.
a fucking list. So we're going to take care of business right now because the one thing we have to remember, can't just win the presidency because you're fucked if you
Yeah,
don't. Got to have the House, got to have the Senate, and also, Boldo, once that happens, there has to be discussions with the leadership because I do not want Chuck Schumer as the majority leader of the Senate.
I agree.
Fuck him.
I agree. That's the thing. Somebody came to my page after this all happened, and somebody said to me, "See, you were wrong. It went fine. Everything worked out perfectly, like they knew what was going to happen." And I said, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We still had a bunch of people disrespect maybe the greatest president in our lifetimes, if not
Mhm.
ever. That doesn't fix this." What I hated more than anything was the media and some of these people who were pushing them out, talking shit about Joe. And they came back and said, "Oh, Joe's a wonderful guy. We're so sad for him. He's the greatest guy." Those motherfuckers I hate the worst. Chuck
Yeah.
Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. I'm a little on edge with Hakeem Jeffries. And I'm sorry, if that's just how Washington plays the games, that's disloyal as hell, disingenuous as hell, and now I can't trust you. So
Yeah. Follow the money.
don't think I was wrong in I wasn't wrong. I said Joe's going to be there, but if he's not, it's got to be Kamala. In that sense, we were right, but I had no idea what was going to happen with Kamala,
And
and it
and
worked
then
perfectly.
and the other thing too is that they already had discussed the money issue
Yeah,
because we already know that Trump has filed the Trump campaign has filed a FEC complaint with the
not going to
money.
work.
But see the thing about it is that they raised close to $200 million separate from that. I'm
They
not
don't,
putting the 93 in there. The 93 is still sitting there. They can't stop it. That I mean, that's she said it that she, when in her first speech is that when she went to the campaign headquarters, we raised this from the people. This is the people's campaign, and it goes back to what we talked about. I think a couple about a month ago about why Joe Biden has all this support and the rich people were looking to dump him. It's because he keeps talking to the middle class, the unions, the people. Fuck the elite. He said it. Well, not that way, but he might as well have. And then Harris comes around and keeps the same theme.
yeah,
You can't
that's
stop it.
no, you can't.
It's she said it for the people, and she made that comment that when her first time she showed up in court, she introduced us Kamala Harris for the people. And I thought that was going to be her campaign slogan, but
I
no,
did
she
too.
came up with it. But she came up with "We're not going back,"
Well,
and I think that's even bigger.
what she said was people first, like America first. And I thought that
Exactly.
would be an interesting tagline as a counterbalance to what Donald Trump is saying. But she actually said that, and I'm sure there's a lot of wealthy donors and stuff just cringing at that. But you're right. They want to fight over that $90 million that Joe Biden has. They got 250 already. They only got 3.5 months. They've got a campaign. She's
Yeah,
got plenty of
and
money
she's
on her own.
and of the I think 100. I don't remember the number of donors that came in. They said 80% are recurring donors. Recurring donors. They give their money every month.
Right.
They didn't have to lie like they did with the Trump campaign. They volunteered to do it. And so I have never, and honestly, all the years I've seen Democrats like to eat each other.
They
It's
do.
literally you get them, they eat each other. And I was afraid someone's going to come up thinking I can do this because they don't give a fuck about us, but I can get the power, knowing that that would just destroy everything. Which brings us back to the Trump campaign,
Yeah, absolutely.
and he not only did Joe Biden do his own leadership in, he knew what was going to happen with Trump because those stupid idiots thought this was a done deal. Why else do you select JD Vance?
Dumbest
They
move
know that,
ever.
yeah, and it was just basically, don't worry about it. We're going to roll. His campaign people said, don't worry about it. He wasn't even campaigning. He was playing golf with the maxi pad. And he's like, they thought they had it. And then this comes up and they don't know what to do
They have no clue. They didn't
because
plan for it.
they don't no plan at all. And that's the thing. If you're running a campaign, don't you have a contingency plan?
Apparently
I
not.
mean, well, honestly, the Democrats didn't have a contingency plan. They were just going to wing this fucker. and let everything fly. But
But
someone was
Joe,
smarter than thing.
but Joe had a plan,
But he
and
had a
it fucking
plan,
worked.
and to watch Republicans flop after literally literally decades of them actually being smarter than Democrats. They always outmaneuvered them. They always knew how to get under them. Um, that's why they dragged Hillary Clinton through Benghazi. They knew it would benefit them. It, they did all this. It was smart people working with them. Um, and now they got an idiot uncharged because they let their own racism and misogyny take over. And he's an idiot. And he doesn't know. And they thought, and the thing I think that really drives them crazy is that they wanted Biden to resign, to
Right.
back off, and they got it. But in their own hate-filled little hearts, they never thought he would select a black woman to succeed him.
Yeah.
Because their world, they would never do that. They can't do it. And he did it. And not only did he do it, he supported her wholeheartedly and all rolled out of their control. They cannot control the fucking narrative anymore.
No.
Who's the old guy now?
Yeah.
Who's the old guy now? And here's
Who's
the other
who's
thing.
the media darling now? It's not Donald
That's
Trump
it.
anymore. It's
Not Donald
Kamala
Trump. And
or Kamala.
and 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 even the mass media is kind of moving on because they can't. I mean, they've got. I mean, Fox is like I'm watching. Fox is just bringing out all the oldies and moldies, but the problem is that it with in 2016 with Clinton, it kind of she had so much baggage. They could get away with that to an extent. Racism because she was in a person of color, but in misogyny they could work it, and it
Right.
did make a difference.
No.
So now, whenever they say this stuff, we all look at them like we expect you to say it. That's the best you got for me.
Yeah.
That's the best.
You said something. You gave a number talking about 2020, how
Mm-hmm.
Trump got 53% of white women.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to work this time because it's not just about women now. It's about Roe v. Wade. He's not going to get 53% of women. In fact, he's going to be lucky to get 30% of women.
It's even lower from some of the polls I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest. I mean, I'm amazed about everything. I'm not enthused because I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not. I'm not enthused because these are politics, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I'm getting the suspicion because we're in almost a week now into this
Yeah.
that there's not going to be other shoe to drop.
This is a runaway train, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be hard to stop because the media is jumping on board this train, and
Mm.
Donald Trump has to turn it around in 3 months or less to get it back on him, and he's not going to be able to do it because what happens now is she keeps going, she keeps looking presidential. Donald
Mm.
Trump is flailing, and he looks dumber every time he talks. He looks
That
older, creepier, weirder.
that speech in North Carolina, that speech in North Carolina was. I mean, it was all the old oldies. It was the same crap.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that you have the first campaign speech of Kamala Harris. They had to move the venue because they didn't have enough bodies. They didn't have
Right.
room. Which that I'm going, okay, that's a sign. She got up there, got introduced. She did 15 minutes, concise, to the
Yeah.
point. This is what I'm going to do. This is who Donald Trump is. We're not going to go back. This is how we're going to do it. Thank you very much. Walked off the stage. And I watched that and I'm going, God damn.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I have not even Barack Obama could do that.
No.
I'm sorry.
Well, they're comparing it to Barack Obama in 2008, and people are saying it's even bigger than that. One of the things she's done is she's kind of marshaled all the young people. You didn't really hear much out of them, and they complain about
Mhm.
Israel. At least that's what you thought you heard. People, for whatever reason, are loving Kamala Harris. And I love Kamala Harris too. I said that before she was ever picked. I said, I have no problem with her being president. I think she's pretty strong. And what she's doing right now is the exact right strategy with the Donald Trump. I tried to explain this in the TikTok. In the debate, for
Mhm.
example, you got Donald Trump, loudmouth, spewing his bullshit, and you got Joe more laid back, more on the defensive, and just talking slow and telling the facts. Well, that's a mismatch. It's not hard to get run over by Donald Trump, even if he's
Mhm.
talking bullshit. Now, Kamala is doing something different. She's on the offense. She's attacking every time she talks. And I've said that before. That's what you need to do. You need to keep
Exactly.
slapping the taste out of their mouth and keep going on the offensive. And that's the only way you beat a bully.
And she did it. And if you look back from the Mike Pence VP debate, he was trying to do that to her because that was their strategy. Will just overwhelm her.
Right.
I mean, she turned around and looked at him like, "I'm speaking. No, no, no. I'm speaking. Thank you." That right there is power.
Right.
That's power because
Yeah.
she didn't insult him. She didn't tell him to shut the fuck up. I mean, Biden did because he lost his temper because he was trying to be patient.
Right.
Kamala Harris just looked at him and said, "No, I'm going to speak because those are the rules. So you can just shh." And that was just some kind of power. And Trump does not want to get on that. When he got on the stage with Hillary Clinton, they designed it for her to fail. The
Yeah.
walking one, where he was close to her and all that bullshit. The reason that they backed out of the debate tonight was that in the format that they were going to have, he was DOA
Right.
because if he spews his shit, she was going to come around and go, "No, before I answer your question, let me address what he said." Because that's what a prosecutor does. It's
Right.
called redirect, it's redress. She's going to redress what he said and give her the facts. And like if she was in the CNN debate, that's what she would have done. So, okay, I understand your question, but this is what I want to redress what he just said. And then she could do it within the time limit and then answer a question.
Right.
That's what they were afraid of because they see it. Now, even today, um, the 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 Harris campaign came out with a statement about his interview with Fox. It was brutal. They went after him tongues with knives and spears. They hit him as a convict. They hit him as a liar. They hit him as a sexual predator. They keep repeating the points. The problem, and as one person who said, and I was watching her videos, that the biggest problem we've had with Democrats, we've been too fucking nice.
Absolutely.
This woman is not nice. This woman's going to get the job done.
I
Fuck
can't
this.
I can't wait till Donald Trump uses his typical term with women because it's maybe accurate in a good way. He's going to
I
start
mean,
calling her nasty.
yeah, and I mean the
And
thing about
so
this,
what?
and that's the thing. What I'm seeing from for her on this campaign, the reason that the Trump campaign can't do anything. The Trump campaign originally with Hillary, they had all the other shit. Yeah, Benghazi, you had the emails. She does not have that. Even in
No.
her past, when they tried to, the Willie Brown thing, the Montel Williams, everyone's going to look at it. I'm going, that was in the 90s. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
And that's what everyone's saying. Who gives a fuck?
And it
The
wasn't
guys say,
and
go
they're
ahead.
just hyping it up, it
Yeah,
didn't really happen. And the thing about it is with Kamala, this is why I thought they needed to take Kamala too, because if they take somebody out of the blue, they're going to dig into every little detail and pull out bullshit
exactly.
and exaggerate it. They've had 4 years to look into Kamala. Anything that they have has already come out. So it's a lot. There's no going to be no surprises between now and November.
Yeah, and it's just that they can't. The only thing they fall out, they went is to their misogyny and the racism, the DEI bullshit. Go kiss my ass.
But you
I
know
mean,
what?
it just
Keep it
yeah.
up because it's just losing them votes every time they do
That's
it.
why. That's why Mike Johnson got behind him and saying, "Shut up." Even he, in his little turtle snake mind, knows that it's not working. But on Fox News, they're going whole hard, killing me. That one guy who literally just said that she slept her way to the top. I mean, as one person said, really, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, at a point, but see, it doesn't. It's everything. I mean, people say it's going to get worse. Yeah, it's going to get worse, but it doesn't help them. No
No.
one's. It's not going to stick. And I don't see any. I mean, one black MAGA black creator was talking about he didn't want to vote for it because of Fruitvale Station. Now, I don't know, you know about that.
No.
In 2004, 2003, and there was a movie made about it with the guy who played Killmonger, and I'll come back to it later, where a Alameda County sheriff shot a black man on the platform of the train station for no reason. It was basically he murdered him before they had um, body cameras and everything. The officer was arrested. He was fired. This guy was saying but he got a deal. He didn't even do a year in jail for murdering this man. And this guy was saying, well, Kamala Harris was the city attorney, was the district attorney of Alameda County when that happened. No, she was the district attorney of San Francisco County, which the last time I checked was across the bay.
Yeah, exactly.
In California. It was the original guy who charged him retired before the court case, and the woman and district attorney that cut the deal. See, this is the things we have to watch out for because they're bringing up false bullshit.
Yeah, but
that's the thing we have to watch it.
The thing about it is that they can bring up something from 30 years ago that might be a little hinky or might not be positive for her, but you got 34 felony convictions. You got overturning Roe v. Wade. You got stealing classified documents. All you have to do is keep repeating that, and that drowns out any ridiculous bullshit that they can tell about Kamala.
I mean, Vance, AP headline. We have checked. J.D. Vance did not have sex with a couch. Okay. Let's all stop for a second. That was an AP headline. That was a rumor that got out that people actually believed about the man. Let's all take a deep breath and think about that. They actually believe that. I mean, that's the one thing I think. One person, another person, was talking about. If we're doing it now, why didn't we do it in 2020 with
Kamala Harris? It was a different world.
Exactly. They said that part of the reasoning with Jim Clyburn, who backed up Biden in the South Carolina primary, led him to getting the nomination and the presidency. There was discussed with him, and he just basically saying, not yet. He's going to take her as the vice president, but not yet. And this has probably become the only absolute example of a political perfect storm.
Yeah.
Where all the currents rolled into here, everything rolled up, and then the Republican Party, which had been usually pretty smart about this stuff, with the idiots in charge, got caught, and they're on the outside looking in. They're screwed. I can't I can't see a way around it. I don't know what they're going to do, except go illegal, and that's one of my concerns. And I don't want to throw.
Everything about Donald Trump is starting to deteriorate. He's going to get sentenced. All this stuff is coming to pass. He's pretty much destroying himself by the things he says. One of the things I wanted to bring up was about Kamala. People were always saying 2019, when she was running for president, it didn't go very well for her. And that is true. But as I say, we're in a different world. Around that time, 2019, we had George Floyd and all that kind of stuff. And being a tough guy cop type of person, that wasn't popular back then. We're in a different world now. We've got a criminal opponent. So being a tough guy cop is a positive now for Kamala.
Especially when that person tried to overthrow the government.
And especially when he's this supposed to be tough guy and trying to bowl over. That's what I think people were dying for. It wasn't that they didn't like Joe Biden. They wanted somebody to take off the gloves and fight back. And that's just not Joe. It never was Joe. But Kamala is a different experience. They see her as their champion who's going to go out and slap the taste out of his mouth. That's what they're so hopeful for.
And that's one thing I goes back to what we're talking about, why they were trying to jump over her, because that didn't make sense. Who are you going to do? Yeah. You're going to get someone that was going to basically play footsies with this guy? Because that's the thing Trump counts on. But see, you have to look what's gone on for the last 2 years. Who's been prosecuting his ass?
Yeah.
Letitia James,
Yeah.
Fonnie Willis, um, Alvin Bragg.
Shutkin.
There's not a white
Judge
face in that fucking bunch.
Judge Shutkin. Yeah.
Judge
Yeah.
Shutkin,
Yeah.
even Judge Marchand. Last time I checked, that didn't sound like
He's not
Judge Smith.
Swedish.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that that's what he's those that's where the fight is.
Yeah.
Um, he had to depend on one white judge and incompetent to get him out of being a traitor. Those documents, she never dismissed the case. She just dismissed on the prosecution bullshit,
Right.
which was wrong. And again, the Supreme Court laid out some other bullshit. That's one fear I do have is with all the lawsuits because the Heritage Foundation, they came out today, the chairman or the leader or whatever Uberfuhrer he is, um, said that, yeah, we have plans in effect that we're going to do in a few, so everyone's going to find out soon.
Well,
That
well, here,
concerns me.
well, here's the thing. The lawsuits, the trials, and all this stuff. We got one trial under our belt. He was convicted 34
Mhm.
times. He's not going to be let off the hook on that. That's just absolutely ridiculous. He's going to be sentenced in September, which will be tantamount to October surprise, because when he gets that sentence, whatever it is, it's going to hang over his head. But here's the deal. We can worry about the trials and all that, but we should take a page out of the Republicans' book. Let's not worry about the trials. Let's just destroy them in terms of
Yeah,
their reputations,
yeah.
who they are, and they're in the process of doing that now. JD Vance, Donald Trump would love to fire that motherfucker, but he can't do it without looking bad and going through a bunch of bullshit.
And he's on the ballots. My
Right.
only concern is that the fuckery they want to do with the ballots. I mean, Johnson has already hinted on that. They filed the complaint at the FEC. There are hints that the Heritage Foundation is going to sue in every state to keep her off the ballot and force Joe Biden on there. I mean, don't give me. I'd love their thinking. Yeah, well, their votes, people voted for Joe Biden. Now they're trying to defranchise them. Really? From you guys? Shut the fuck up.
This is all they do. They try to create chaos and noise and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is the Democrats haven't had their convention yet. They haven't officially picked a nominee. So to suggest that they should, they're just mad because Joe Biden played them
Oh, they're
again.
mad.
They played him again because he waited till after the convention, cost them a bunch of money, cost them a bunch of time, and they don't like it. So that's what they always say. I'm going to
The
sue.
best,
Fuck you,
the
sue.
best thing.
LBJ left early. Taft left early. This
Mhm.
is fucking unprecedented. This is precedented.
And the thing about it though, when LBG left, he didn't have any successor. He didn't. I mean, he just let it go, and that's why they had to fight in '68. That's what the Republicans were hoping for. They saw
Yeah,
'68 convention. They were hoping Chicago 2024 is going to be Chicago '68. That's what we were hoping for.
right.
They didn't get it, and that's why that's one person. Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's not that they want to fight this Republicans instead of they are mad.
They're mad.
It's like, how could you do
They
this
got
to us?
played. They did
They got
exactly
played.
what the Republicans would have done.
Yeah,
And
you
that
got
pisses them
played.
off.
And the point is like, you know, the Stephen Miller, the Stephen Miller reaction, and you saw it. I'm like, we spent 20, and the first thing I said, I go, bitch, all's fair in love, war, and politics. And you guys have been saying that same fucking shit for us for
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world, a taste of this. You got worked and you're screwed because you have no plan. There is no plan. What's the
This
plan?
this
Give
is
me a plan.
always the reaction when you've got somebody who's a bully or a con man and they get played back. I remember when I was in the music business, I had this Madison Avenue lawyer and he was trying to play me, and I figured out a way to play him back. And it just
Right.
made him fucking furious. And he said, you can't do this. You can't. I go, you're just pissed off because some dumbass white guy in the Midwest beat you at your own game. And that's exactly what it was. Joe
Mhm.
Biden beat them all. They thought they were slick. They thought they were smart. But you know what? They always lose though. They always fuck it up. That's why I'm
And
saying you want to be racist? Go be racist
go
because it'll
for
fuck you
racist.
up.
I mean, go. That's gonna. This is not. It's not going to work.
No.
That's why they told him to stop. But I mean, it's still coming up. I mean, they've gone to the birther. Yeah. Have you seen that little bit?
Yeah.
Because her families were here on student visas and she was born in the United States. That doesn't make her a citizen. I'm going. You guys read the 14th Amendment? I
Yeah.
mean, and it's like that's the that's they're going to the oldie but moldies. But the problem is that the what the Biden Harris administration have done a lot. We
Yeah.
all know this. We know that in 2 years, we have to go 2 years in the Biden presidency when he had the House and the Senate. And even in the Senate, he had two assholes that kept plugging everything up.
Yeah.
And so Manchin and Cinema, Cinema's paid the price. Manchin is going to go float somewhere on his yacht. But but even with that, he accomplished things in 2 years that are just still paying off. I've
He
never seen that.
he accomplished more in 4 years than a lot of presidents accomplish in 8 years, and for that he should be
Oh, he's
lauded
going to be.
lauded for that.
I mean, he's going to be one of the greatest presidents of all time, just legislatively. Again with LBJ, but that took him six to do
Yeah.
much what he did. But but whenever Kamala Harris talks about policy, it's their policy.
Right.
See, everyone's saying, "Well, what's her policy?" It's the Biden policy. Everything they've been working for, everything she's saying on that first speech, um, you know, the economy from the bottom up, you know, the gun violence, Medicare, all those. These are what Biden wants to accomplish, and this is what she's going to accomplish as long as we
Uh,
give her the House and Senate.
well, I think the big thing that's going on here, and I've seen some of the polls and they're outrageous. Um, the young people didn't dislike Joe, but they weren't energized by him.
Mm-hmm.
The young people definitely don't like Donald Trump, but they seem to love Kamala Harris. They are energized by Kamala Harris. These young kids are going, fuck, that's somebody who's going to do something for us finally. And Joe was going to do something for them, but he was too old. He was out of touch for them, and he couldn't articulate it in a way where they could understand it. She
Yeah,
can.
yeah, she articulated it again. I, I I hate what happened to the man.
I do
He
too.
didn't deserve it. Um, but it's one of those weird people historians look at it as like it accidentally worked out
It didn't
because there
accidentally
was
work out.
well, it didn't it yeah there was a plan, but he
Joe
was
did it.
forced into the plan. Yeah, he was forced into the plan, and it's just I'm looking at this in as someone who has seen Democrats just eat themselves alive for decades. Even in the Obama administration, there were Democrats that fought him.
Yeah.
They never cooperated with him. They never stepped up against McConnell and his bullshit. They left him hanging out to dry. That's the thing you have to remember. This is a bigger push because Obama won the presidency, but he didn't win the House or Senate, and it
Right.
left him hanging out to dry. Joe Biden was the one that got a lot of legislation done. People have to remember that he worked with that to get it done. But now we have an opportunity to do two things: end Donald Trump finally, because if he doesn't get the presidency, like he's going to jail. No one's going to save his ass.
He's going to jail, and at the very least, the Republicans are going to abandon him. He's
Yeah,
lost
they're
too
going to
many
abandon. Well, they
times.
have to abandon him. There's nothing left.
Right.
And two, we can end Trumpism and most of the Republican Party for a decade and a half.
Oh yeah.
We can, if you kind of look at it, someone made a good comment, and I heard it. This coalition that's forming right now is kind of smelling like what happened in France,
Yeah.
because the French, Le Pen's poll said she was going to win, but then opposite sides of the left decided, no, we're going to combine here. When you have people stepping aside in certain seats so the other leftists can win and throwing their support against them, that's what did in Le Pen, because those people stuck together. What we're seeing for the first time on the center left, the moderates, the
Progressives.
independents, the progressives, the people who the Haley voters. Yeah, good, nice cease and desist letter, Nikki. It doesn't work. You abandoned them, they abandoned you, and yeah, they're going to use your name because that's what happened. They're
Yeah.
sticking it to you. Those people are turning over, and the point is, it's going to down ballot. I cannot see someone going, "I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris and vote for the MAGA fuck down on the down ballot." I can't see it. It doesn't make sense.
That's the
It's got to
interesting
be
thing. That's the interesting thing about Nikki Haley. She thought she had something. She was kind of cocky. Now she's out on an island with no place to go. No Republicans, not Democrats. She's fucked. She fucked herself with her own ego and her own complicity in what was going on with Donald Trump.
I mean, complicit and just, I mean, Joe Biden did something that no man, political man, would do. He walked away from the presidency.
Right.
Okay, I mean, he's still president. Let's all make sure the man's still alive and he's still president. But he literally did George Washington. He
Yeah.
literally did George Washington because he probably could have won. He could stay.
Yeah.
But like Washington, he didn't get pressure, but Washington could see the tea leaves. He didn't want this shit.
Well,
He
he
was
was tired.
tired.
He was tired of the climate in politics. That's what I'd heard
Yeah,
recently. I tell you what, Will, we're going to take a quick break,
sure.
and we'll come back. I want to talk. There's a bunch of other things I want to talk about. We can talk about the vice president. We can
Right.
talk
That
about.
I have a couple thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting. So we will take a quick break, and we
Mhm.
will be right back. We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Will is our guest today. Will's been on frequently. He's got a lot to say, and it's always interesting, compelling, and informational. So I'm always happy to have Will on the air. You mentioned something, Will, before we took the break about Joe
Hmm.
still the president. And we've got
Right.
to remember that because everybody's jumping on Kamala's bandwagon. But Joe is still the president for 6 months.
Hmm.
Joe's an interesting character. And I think the Republicans see him as dangerous because he's an 81-year-old man with nothing to lose, no election to win, and an eye for doing the right things, not to mention the immunity.
The immunity,
So,
which
so
he
he,
wouldn't use because he's not that way. But
let me ask you this, though. I've
Mhm.
heard people say that before. What if we get to the election day or just before the election day or January 6th and the Republicans decide to do something fucked up? Would Joe then take advantage of that immunity thing just to shut that down? I think he might.
Oh, he'll
What's he got to lose?
he's going to lose, and to protect the republic, he will, because that would be an ultimate official act. I mean, we had that idiot Ohio senator talking about civil war again. Let me make this clear to all you people who will reach to watch this on the other side. Don't do it. Don't do it because you're not in charge. You have no. The DOJ is not yours. The military is not yours. It belongs to Joe Biden until the 20th of January 2025. It's not going to work. And also, he put out the word, and I caught this just before we came on together. Joe was already talking about the Supreme Court. That was in his
Right.
speech at the White on the Oval Office speech by the Supreme Court. And I just saw a little. I was just doing some stuff about the budget because that's going to be a shit show soon. Um, and I saw that two right wing senators have filed legislation in the Senate to expand the Supreme Court by 4 seats.
Wow.
And I'm going. So they're either anticipating Trump being president, or they're or something's that's weird.
Well, here's the thing. You're going to see a lot of change minds, especially in the Supreme Court, as we get closer to the election, as this momentum continues to build for Kamala Harris. They're going to start thinking, shit, we're going to lose. What do we got to do? Now the Supreme Court's going to have to back down off some shit. Otherwise, they know they're going to get hammered anyway when the Democrats take over. But as it becomes more evident or imminent, these people are going to start backing down and say, "Oh, I always liked you guys. Oh, I would never do that kind of shit." They've done it before. They're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just a fucking train coming toward them.
Yeah, and I just can't, because my biggest, and again, this is a concern. I shouldn't say a fear, it's a concern. You get the right judge, you get it to the Supreme Court, and they do something like we saw, at least a delay, maybe try to stop a deadline, maybe keep Harris off a ticket until the deadline passes in the state. People will go crazy.
Yeah.
It won't be the protests in front of the Supreme Court would be insane. It would be crazy. If they pulled something like that, if they pulled around, let's say they get it, because Trump's not going quietly. He's not going quietly.
But
He's not going to do it.
he's not gonna have as much strength as he did in 2020.
And but to shut him up, we have to remember one thing: we have to basically landslide this motherfucker. It's
Yeah.
got to be. It's got to be. No, you can't question it. You can't
He
question it.
still will, but it will be ridiculous.
It'll be ridiculous. And so, but if it gets to that point, let's say again, and someone in the Supreme Court pulls something like that, the outcry, it's not going to be 2000. No one's going to accept it. They're not going to accept it. Not with this train, not with these many people behind it.
Right.
If the Supreme Court goes, we throw the whole thing out, then the world, then you're talking about a mess.
But they're
I don't
not.
think they'll do it.
No,
But that's
it's not going to get to that point. Everybody talks about, well, what if Mike Johnson does this? First of all, on January 3rd, Mike Johnson will no longer be the Speaker of the House because the
exactly.
Democrats will control the House. So Mike Johnson isn't even an issue. The Vice President of the United States to handle the certification is fucking Kamala Harris. So,
Mhm.
and people will say, well, what if she couldn't? What if this? Then it goes to the Senate pro tempore, and that's a Democrat. So, you
Right.
know, all this worry about Mike Johnson doing anything. He's a lame ass bitch, and he's going to be out of a
Well,
job in about 6 months.
he's in knee deep shit right now because I was looking at it at another little feed because there's so much stuff going on, but we keep forgetting budgets are coming up. They had
Yeah,
not done the budget
September, right?
spending bills. Yeah, September, and they're trying to get through it, but they can't do anything because the MAGA fucks keep putting in this stuff. The biggest thing they keep putting in this budget is this so-called save bill, where everyone has to prove they're a citizen before they can vote. And everyone's telling you everyone has to do it anyway. Why do you want to do it again? And it won't get through the Senate. The Senate's saying no. Schumer's not going to put that on the floor. Oh
Right.
hell no. And so what Johnson's worried about now is it won't matter if you want to get a speaker fight, Marjorie. Cool, I'd love to see that in the middle of an election. Go do that. But secondly, what he's afraid of, if they don't spend any kind of spending bills and they close the government down before the election, ain't blame Democrats.
No. Well,
Republicans
so,
are shit out of luck.
Well, see, and that's the thing. People saying, "Well, I'm worried about the budget thing in September. We're worried about this." We've been worried about it three fucking times over the last 2 years, and
Yeah.
every time I said, "Listen, last minute, last day, they'll come up with an answer." Joe Biden played McCarthy. Joe Biden played Mike Johnson. I'm not that worried about it because it tends to hurt the Republicans more. And with 2 months from the election, they ain't going to play that game. In
No,
fact,
and the thing about
if
it,
it looks like Kamala's going to win, you'll get Republicans just siding with the Democrats and we'll get it done.
because they have, I mean, the biggest they had compromises, but here come the MAGA fucks putting these stupid amendments on. Those people have the thing about this Congress. Again, going back to what we said before, 2 years Joe Biden did a lot. The
Yeah.
last 2 years, you can't do anything with these insane people who think that who think to win you have to block everything. They're not winning. You don't win anything. People want shit done.
Yeah.
This culture, that's the other thing I think that's driving this too, especially those who were Republicans once, independents, young people. It's tiresome. We're done. We're done with you, Boebert. We're done with you, Green. We're done with you. It's over. Chip Roy, Andy Ogle filing fucking letters of of impeachment against Harris. Do you not think what we saw? Do you think we're stupid?
They do.
You really think we're stupid?
They think we're stupid and they've really got nothing else to do. So they are just throwing everything against the wall because they are desperate. They know they're losing. They know they're going to lose. I think finally people are seeing what I saw and what you saw now that Kamala is there. And I'm glad for it because we needed some energy in this campaign and we
Yeah,
got a shitload of energy. And the Republicans are recognizing it too. And the
and
ones with half a brain are nervous.
right, and I saw something today which I thought was interesting. There was a because they've been talking about JD Vance and his Appalachian roots, which we find out are all a lie.
Yeah.
But they had a woman who got a comment about uh, she just her the question to her is that she grew up in Kentucky, lived in Tennessee, grew up in Eastern Kentucky, coal miners. Her grandfather's a coal miner, died of black lung. Parents are coal miners, and she was saying what thing that still bugs her. She said she grew up. If you grew up in that area, you grew up evangelical.
Right.
You grew up. Um, that means you voted Republican. And she goes, the one thing that always she never understood was why do these people they vote Republican because their parents did, their
Hmm.
grandparents did. They vote Republican because their pastor tells them to. They vote Republicans because the moral majority under Jerry Falwell, instead of so they wouldn't integrate schools, leaped on the abortion thing. So it's a moral thing because they're big on morals. They sold them this. And she goes, I don't understand it. Why? And I remember something from years ago. I took a Mesoamerican history class talking about social culture in Mexico, Central America, before, before and after the conquistadors came.
Right.
And after the conquistadors came, my professor was talking about it. What they did at first, they had to erase all the religion of the Mixtecs, the Aztecs, the Mayans. They did that. They went in and they using the church to establish Catholicism.
Right.
Always remember the mission system. Whenever you see a mission in California, remember that was built by Indian slaves, y'all. Um, and what the person was telling me on a social standpoint, the Catholicism they sold in Mexico and Central America was a Catholicism that of accept who you are. Being poor is a good thing because it's closer to God. Your rich people on top are going to hell, but don't challenge them because if you become like them, you're going to hell.
Right.
It was a perpetual circle of being poor was accept your place because you're closer to God. And he said that continued until the Mexican Revolution, and then that changed over. And I thought, yeah, that's the same thing. If you think about evangelicals and their take on Christianity, it's false morality, but they never let people improve on their status. They always have these people vote against them. He said, like Mitch McConnell has been a Kentucky senator for, she said, 240 years. He looks it. Um, is that he kept saying that if you vote for Democrats, they're going to take away your morals. They're immoral. I'm not immoral, which is a lying sack of shit because he made a whole bunch of money off these poor people's backs. So 60% of those people in Eastern Kentucky, as she said, are in government assistance.
Right.
And you vote for the party that wants to remove it because they feel that they're holy. And that's what religion has done for them is controlled them. And the
That's
hardest thing with these places that we see these congressmen come from is to get around that. It's hard. These people are poor. A lot of them undereducated. It's not their fault. They're just not giving the same resources that they demand. And we're gonna talk about the vice presidency. I don't want Andy Beshear out of Kentucky
why.
because he is the only fucking block from that state turning into Louisiana,
Okay.
turning into Ohio, apps because they have super majorities in the Republican Party. Andy Beshear was able to win twice as governor because he's a good man. He spoke to the people, and the people that were running against him were total absolute MAGA fucks that the people couldn't stand.
Right.
That's how bad. But if I want personally, the guy from Arizona,
Mark Kelly.
um, Mark Kelly. I think he's sharp. He's got he's got his astronaut thing to him. If he leaves the Senate as vice president, Katie Hobbs can nominate appoint a Democrat for him. But if Andy Beshear leaves Kentucky, and I'm saying this that I mean not in the sense that it's going to help the election, but I'm thinking those people in Kentucky. You take him out, who's been a barrier against some of the worst laws that House and Senate have passed. Kentucky will become Louisiana, and
Yeah.
that's not fair to those people.
No.
That man is a good man, and he's trying to work for Kentuckians. The next person will not.
Well, there's some other people that they're talking about for the vice presidency. Somebody brought up, if they took a poll from the people in this country, I saw a poll that said the person that most people would pick is Pete Buttigieg. Now, hear me out on this, because I said before, you got a black woman, you got a gay man. Is the country ready for this? Well, apparently they're ready for a black woman. And I have a feeling that Buttigieg would really appeal to the younger generation. He's 42 or whatever, but
Mhm.
people like him because he's young looking. And I don't know. I'm changing my mind on this a little bit, because the first thing I said was, yeah, you can't have a black woman and a gay man, or a black woman. And I was worried about Shapiro in Pennsylvania because he's Jewish. And I have to remember, these are totally different times. I'm basing my
Mhm.
point of view from history. And as I told
Right.
somebody before, you can't base it on past history because we've never seen this in our history. This is a
Yeah.
different time.
And as you said, this train may be there's so much momentum in the train. Doesn't matter who they got here; they're going to be at. Um,
I mean, other than being gay, can you think of any good reason
no,
why
I
he
mean
wouldn't be
Pete
a good
Buttigieg. I don't
VP?
even. He's really competent. He's really
Yeah.
sharp. I mean, JD Vance wouldn't want to get a debate on him because he'll eat him alive.
Yeah.
I've seen him eat people in Congress alive.
I've seen him meet people
Um,
on Fox News.
alive. He's a brave man. He goes on Fox and eats them alive. The only thing is that with him, I don't know, because the one thing is one as I think Rick Wilson made a good point about the Lincoln Project. You want to make sure that the person you select as vice president not only helps you by the way of the ticket, but can step in as president.
Right.
I'm
And I
more
think
confident with Mark.
I
Go
think
ahead.
a relationship is important too. I mean, we found
Yeah,
out that Kamala and Joe have a great relationship, and I'm sure she'd want to have that same kind of thing with whoever she picks.
and she knows Buddha, she knows Mark Kelly well. Um, the only thing with Buddha is I don't think it's is for me it wouldn't be who he is and what he is. I don't give a fuck.
No,
He's
I don't care.
competent as all hell.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't know if he's got that much experience to be president.
True. He
Because
was a
I
mayor,
yeah
and then he ran for
yeah
president, and now he's a
yeah
transportation. That's why he's a transportation director and
station
not some
secretary.
higher
I
level,
mean,
because he hadn't had the experience. True.
and you go with the current with Kamala, you have statewide office twice, federal office as senator. We've seen her what she does, so she has that. Mark Kelly has that type of background, and he's very sharp and he's very articulate, and
He's a
he's got
little
a
more
lot of stuff going
centrist
on,
too.
which is
He's
a
a,
good thing.
it may be a
Yeah,
good thing. The other thing is,
yeah.
somebody
So they
said,
said the same thing about Biden,
yeah,
so I don't think he's going to fight her on his. He has the same. I think he has the same goals. Um, I think the idea of centrist left and all that is gone because the Biden. If you want to keep going with the train, you got to go with the Biden economic plan
yeah,
that's worked. You can't buck it. Gavin Newsom ended his vice presidency idea today when he gave the okay for cities to close homeless camps.
yeah,
I read that. You're fucking done. You're done. Because I don't know why he did that. Because considering what the Supreme Court has ordered, what the only option is jail, dude, why would you do that? I read that. I'm going, why would you do that? Because at that point, he just kicked himself out the VP.
yeah.
Because even though Republicans hate poor people, they would jump on that.
Yeah,
They
they'll
would
jump
jump
on
on
it.
that.
They'll jump on anything.
Mhm.
You know, I've been thinking too, well, maybe Josh Shapiro because they want to win Pennsylvania, or Mark Kelly because they want to win Arizona. Somebody made an interesting point that the whole idea of getting a VP from a swing state that you need isn't really a thing. I mean,
Mm.
Obama took Biden from Delaware. They didn't take it for the swing state because that wasn't a swing state. They
No,
took him because he offered experience, foreign policy experience, and Obama was inexperienced. So
right.
that was a good choice to pick him. And, George W. Bush, he picked up Cheney from Wyoming. That's not worth anything. He did it because he needed some experience, and his dad told him, you're going to have to work for the devil. So bring in Dick Cheney. And he did. So I don't
Yeah.
know if trying to win a state is really even a thing anymore. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know if it really
It
plays
is. I
out that
mean,
way.
I'm not looking at Mark Kelly as Arizona, as a question of Arizona. Arizona is gonna go blue for two reasons: the abortion and Kerry Lake.
Right.
I mean that's going to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the Republicans did a good job of fucking themselves down there.
Yeah.
Again, I just think, and also, but you also want to look at balances because Josh Shapiro has been Pennsylvania governor for less than a year, maybe a year. That means another election in a pretty tight state. You don't want that mess. Um, Buttigieg would be okay, but you have to get a replacement secretary with the Senate now, and that's going to be kind of a bitch because they're going to filibuster anybody he says. Um,
Unless you
you
just,
also,
I mean, it's 6 months. Maybe you just bring up a deputy and let him
yeah,
run it.
deputy, but you still have to give some approval to the Senate, and those guys are assholes, and they'll do anything to obstruct. Mark Kelly, in a sense, in my mind, and I'm not even thinking about the swing state. I've heard the man. I think he's smart. He's
Yeah.
sharp. He could
Yeah.
step in, and then if he does win, the Senate seat will still be blue because Katie Hobbs would it has the ability to put in a Democrat.
Well, he has
That's
one
what.
other aspect that's kind of important, and they always try to you always try to pick a VP that fills in spots where you're presumed to be weak.
Mm,
And since he's a senator in a border state and has pushed against the Democrats some about their policies about the border,
mhm.
that might answer some questions of what people might ask of Kamala.
Right.
If he brings him in, it makes them appear stronger regarding the border.
I mean, in the border bill, going back to the border, because they keep this border czar bullshit. I don't know where they got that from. That was some kind of wet dream dreamed by Fox News. Peter Ducey was doing that bullshit today at the press conference. I swear to God, whoever the press secretary is now, I just wish she had a big old freaking yardstick, would just walk up and just go whack once in a while with that man.
Karine
And
Jean Pierre, yeah,
yeah, I just wish she would, because that man is fucking annoying. Um,
he's
because
stupid.
it's but again, I always, as I grew up, the press corps for the White House was journalists, well-known journalists with their chops.
Dan Rather,
Sam Donald, the lady from the Washington Post, they were there to ask tough questions, but not perform.
yeah,
All these people are performance artists. It's fucking disgusting. And Peter Ducey is the worst one.
he's
I
horrible at it.
mean, he's not horrible at it. He's just trying to get clicks because they know they're going to film it. And then the rest of the press corps now is the same thing. I mean, at one time, they asked him, why does the president come out? The other guy did, and he goes, because he's not the other guy. He's not Trump. He doesn't have to. Joe Biden doesn't have to show up to the press corps.
Right.
That's not his job. If we have a news conference, cool. You guys can have answered, but on the daily presser, fuck you.
Yeah.
You deal with me. And that's the thing. It's like I don't. And going back to it, I mean, if Buttigieg is that, that's fine. I think they can make it work. Um, I'm fine with anything he says to do because the campaigning wise, the man would be awesome. But the
The-
thing about Kelly, he does have a lot of military
yeah.
stuff on him, which is a help too.
Well, the only
I mean,
reason Buttigieg's name comes up is because the people are asking for it. He's not on the list that we've gotten from the White House about that. So I don't know that he's a realistic. One other guy that's on the list too is my governor, uh, Tim Walz, and he's a great governor. He's got he's similar to Joe Biden in that he got a ton of shit done in Minnesota
Right.
with a lot of pushback.
Oh,
So
that
he's
man.
he's effective, but I
Oh,
don't
he's
know if he's the
effective.
right guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's effective. He also, I've seen him, I mean, battle with Fox News, and I mean, he is one mean. I mean, he's mean. I like that about him. But also, I'll never forget that the week that Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas passed that freaking bill to let, like, you know, 13-year-olds work.
Yeah.
She had little kids dressed up in suits. It was disgusting. He was there signing that bill for was it free lunch for everybody
Yeah.
for kids?
Yeah.
And I watched him sign and work with the kids, and I'm going, God, that was nice.
Well, he's a
That was a
former teacher.
beautiful,
He's a former teacher.
yeah, and
He
it
knew how
was a
to play it.
it was a beautiful sight. I mean, how much does it cost you guys? Nothing. It
No.
doesn't cost you anything. It's the point of it, and I love. Yeah, he's got a lot of it, but like I said, I mean, how long has he been governor? Is he up for reelection? Can you guys put another Democrat in there? That's the other
Well,
thing I worry about.
well, the lieutenant governor would take over, and she's a Democrat,
Is he
so that would be
okay?
fine. I don't know. I don't think there's any limit to how long he can be governor, but he's been hugely successful.
Oh,
Republicans hate his
huge.
guts.
Yeah, of course they
Um,
hate him because and he's successful. Even your neighbor in Wisconsin, Democratic governor, they hate his ass because he's been poking that bear for a long time, and he's
you
done a
know,
good
you,
job in Wisconsin.
you know, there's something about Wisconsin. We got these polls coming out. I don't really trust the polls, but they're showing polls in the swing states. Um, and they're showing Trump ahead by 2% or 1% or something like that, which is, again, it's the polls and I don't really trust them. But it's interesting. She was just in Wisconsin, and that was the one poll that was even. So she came up in Wisconsin. So that means
Yep.
she needs to take her time, not fundraising because she's got plenty of money, going to those swing states and talking because it obviously is working.
I mean, that was, as someone said, that was just one hell of a move. Her first campaign stop was the site of the RNC,
Right.
and she stuck it to him. And I think whoever's planning this campaign is really sharp. They know what they have to do. They know they have to keep the light on who Trump is. The biggest problem we've had with, and I think, again, I hate saying this because I would have supported the man too. I mean, sometimes I feel like Boromir at the end of Fellowship of the Rings. I mean, I would have followed you to the gates,
Yeah.
my king, my captain, because I would have done it because he was there. But at this point, it's looking like without them concentrating on the age thing constantly in the media. And part of the thing I think the media is kind of happy with itself. We got him, so they're gloating to themselves about it, and so they're kind of looking. They're going. Part of me, I'm watching some of the shift in the mass media.
Oh yeah, it's a huge
There,
shift. And
it's
it's
a shift, and
because
well,
Kamala is the hot news.
that's
Donald
hot
Trump's
news,
old news.
and she's and they're starting to look at this guy and starting to ask questions about his age, starting to ask questions about, because there's two things they still have not talked about. One, the Epstein thing.
Yeah.
No one's talked about that still, and I think that's about to come out of the Harris campaign. I got a
Yeah.
funny feeling they're gonna sniff that one out. The other thing, his nephew is about to publish a book. Have you seen the highlights of that?
I've seen the
Have you
highlights of it.
heard that?
Yeah.
Okay, that I, the idea you tell someone, a family member, just let them die because they don't recognize you anywhere because you don't, that way you don't have to spend the money.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that it can't be a, most people say that's not a lie. How can you live? That's
Well,
monster bullshit. That's a monster.
you can see him saying that. And there was a time in that book that's coming out that said, he came out and his Cadillac had the convertible roof ripped, and he blamed it on the N words. That's not surprising. I don't disbelieve that, especially in that era and who he is.
Right.
Definitely, he said
And
something.
and and the thing about it is that the people are going to vote for him are in. deep. You cannot say anything. The
No.
worst thing about doing any videos, and you get it, I get it, is these people come at you with some of the most heinous shit. And then you kind of look at it and go, I mean, is that all? Because part of it to me is like, if I look, I mean, talk about my looks, I don't care. I mean, most of my thing is like, is that all you got? But it's just to watch the absolute obedience or the absolute trying to find an excuse for everything he ever does. No, he wasn't. No, no, they never said he was at Epstein. It's in the fucking paperwork. No, tell me one time he's been racist. I don't know. Where do you want to start? In the 70s, the 80s, the 90s? We can find it. It's
Yesterday
all
when he
there.
talked about black jobs, yeah, it could.
Jobs, so we can do that, this year. So I mean, they're in so deep. The one thing that was really disturbing about that MSNBC piece with those four women is that they're intransient. They're in so deep. They're in so deep with their fears of everything.
Yeah.
They had one lady on CNN. I caught the video, um, talking about Kamala Harris is going to bring back DUI or DEI, and that's going to. This is a quote from this lady: "White men will go to the back of the line." And the lady and one of the women, everyone's like looking at her, go, "Excuse me," and then one of the other. She was a black woman. I don't know her name, was saying, "No, equality means everyone gets an equal shot." She goes, "No,
Right.
no, no, that's not what it means." She goes, "No, it means no." She's going, "Let me speak. It means everyone gets an equal shot." No, no, no. It means that you're going to have, the quotas and all. No. And I'm watching this lady. I go, they're so deep in this,
Yeah.
and and as other person, and I think the Midas Touch brother said a good comment. The other thing is that a lot of these mega people are just weird. They're strange.
Well,
They're
that was a phrase coined by my governor, that he got a lot of play off and it went viral. Tim Walz said, "These
they're,
people are just weird,"
they're
and people
weird.
loved it.
They're weird, and it's like I don't. I mean, everyone has weird, but it's just like, how do you? I mean, it's some of the things they say, some of the things they do. It's just insane. I mean, I did get a laugh that at the last Trump rally, a bunch of Trump humpers got their cars towed because the Dunkin' Donuts guy said, "Yeah, go ahead and park them." I think he set them up,
I think so too.
and they're all laughing, and they're like feeling upset. I'm going. I thought of that line from years ago of Animal House. You fucked up. You trusted us. I mean, because they're just, and that's the hardest thing that's going to be for us is that all of us, because I think as we've talked in the last hour or so, there's a train coming that I've never seen. I mean, that
True.
Zoom call with my biggest concern of providing white women, when you break the Zoom and you're raising thousands and millions of dollars, there's something there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's two things you have to, guys who have to, the Republicans are pissing their pants. Voter registration is up by 700%.
Yeah.
84% of it is people under 34.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
yeah,
bad
I
news
mean,
for them.
that is really bad news. And oh, you want the coup de grace? If you can have Beyonce and Taylor Swift doing a concert at SoFi Stadium for Kamala Harris, it's over, dudes. Game
Yeah.
over.
I heard that story, and then I heard other people say, "Well, it's not real story. It's from a bad resource, a bad source." But Beyonce is
It
letting
keeps
her
popping
use the
up.
music. Yeah, it does keep popping up, and it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened, because Taylor Swift has some strong convictions.
Taylor's,
She
if you
support
see,
she supported
yeah, there's,
Biden in 2020. It wouldn't
yeah,
surprise me if she supported Kamala in 2024. And like you say, my wife keeps saying it too. Taylor Swift just needs to step up, and it's fucking over.
it's over. And the thing was that I remember they did it before the Eras Tour film. They did a biography of her, and
Documentary, yeah.
I never forgot when she sat there. with her parents and told her she was pissed about Marsha Blackburn.
Yeah.
She referred to as Trump with bad hair. I mean, a
Which is
female
saying
version of
something.
Trump. Yeah, and female version of Trump. And she goes, I can't do it. And her dad's saying, if you do this, you know what's going to happen. And she said, I don't care. I don't care. I have to do this because it's only right for what she believes in. And I'm watching this woman who literally could stay out of the fray,
Yeah.
could not stay a damn thing, but stepped up and basically kind of risked her career because he was afraid of a Dixie Chicks
Yeah. Yeah.
response, even
Yeah.
bigger. And
Right.
I get dad's call, but she made the right call.
Well,
And
the thing about it is with Taylor Swift, that's when I kind of fell in love with her. I'm not a big fan of her music because I'm 64. I like some of her music, but I'm not a
mhm,
huge fan. I'm not a Swiftie per se. But I was impressed by the amount of integrity this young woman had, who has a
yeah.
career that she wants to protect. Now, the big difference between now and then, ain't nobody can fuck with her career at
Oh
this point.
no.
She's made a
I
billion
mean,
dollars, and she is a train in her own right that cannot be stopped.
and they talk about her, they hate her. She's the movie that she did of her tour, the Eras tour. Normally, when you have a movie, and you know this, if you from the music business, you do the producing, but it goes to the distributor, and then
Right.
it has to go to a middleman. Same thing with movies. She literally went to movie chains and Disney and said, "Here's the movie. How much?" She cut out all of
She
distribution
paid for
systems.
everything because she
Yeah,
can.
and she cut them out, and they went fucking insane. They were trying to prevent it. You can't do it. She just went right to the AMC. Goes, okay, here it is. How much? And Disney on Disney Plus, it's sitting there. She just did it. Why?
She
Because she could.
she did it on
It's
her own, and I'm sure they told her, "Oh, it'll never work. It'll never work," and it was hugely popular.
because she
She
got
is a
fucked
force of
over the
nature.
first. She got fucked over once. She took her forever to get her book back, a book of music. That one guy stole it from her. They undercut her, but she got it back,
Well,
and now she's
you know what she did, don't you? She
I
just
she re-recorded it, right?
re-recorded every bit of her old music, and now she owned that, and
Yeah,
told her Swifties, buy this stuff, fuck that stuff. Yeah,
and
she's a force, man.
I mean, and that's that scares the hell out of them.
I
And if
wish my
she does
son was
make,
Travis Kelsey. I tell you that right now.
oh God, but see, but the point of like him, it's like I don't, I, he he the thing about that romance, it is a romance,
Yeah,
is that it works.
yeah,
Because the thing about Travis Kelsey is like with her, because men are men, we are egotistical assholes. But he's like, people, yeah, and I got 3 Super Bowl rings and I don't have to worry about it. And the thing about it's like they have a great podcast, he and his brother.
yeah.
It's a real fun to watch. And he was talking about he ended up on one of the shows. I don't know if you've seen the video. He did one of her bits
Right,
on there. And through the entire conversation about it, they keep calling her Tay. Yeah,
right.
Tay was cool with it. Yeah, Tay's cool. And I'm thinking, going, oh, that woman's part of the family.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's in that's what's heartwarming about her is, and what scares the Republicans is that everyone buys into her, even if you're not a fan of the music, because she's a good person.
Right.
And what you have representing you is not a good person.
Well, the person who's most scared of Taylor Swift, because as I understand it, he talks about her a lot. She's kind of looming over his head, is Trump. Trump
Oh,
always talks. He hates her because she's more popular than he is, gets bigger crowds, makes more money, makes actual money, and for whatever reason, Taylor Swift has gotten in his head.
well, again, it's the whole misogynistic fake alpha male bullshit
Yeah,
that that's the hardest. I think women are beginning to understand overall that we're in that Roe v. Wade the loss of reproductive rights was not the first thing they want.
Right.
Uh, Contraception second, and then comes what they had to deal with in the 60s and 70s. Then the finance things come, and then no fault divorces, and then you got JD Vance saying you have to stay in a marriage even though he's abusive, so you take away that. There, at first, in 2016, when Hillary Clinton warned about that, everyone said, "Nah." Well, it's happened and it's gotten worse. And then they went out, they took affirmative action. They took away the Chevron deal, which means they let corporations do what they want. That means you can do a rule and they don't get to listen to you. And then came the presidential immunity. And we all kind of looked at it and go, and part of the reason that's driving the engine of the train that is Kamala Harris and to the presidency is the biggest before Biden left, everyone was afraid. Why we were afraid? If we don't do anything, the things that the Supreme Court had done, the last bastion where we usually get our rights protected, would end everything that we already done for
Right.
for almost a century. Now that we have this going, we can end that. We can make them insignificant, or basically balance out the fucking three goods parts of government. That's what our founding founders wanted.
I'm going to make a prediction. I don't usually make predictions. I usually make a, a
Observation.
a calculated guess is what I usually do. But with Roe v. Wade, with Kamala Harris, I've said this is kind of a tipping point for this country. But I'm suggesting after Kamala wins, Roe v. Wade is going to be messed with. Project 2025 is going to be out the window. The coming age, the next 4, 8, 12, 16 years is going to be the age of the woman and younger women because men have fucked it up so badly. We've got
Hmm.
20 million baby boomers who have died since 2020. So
Exactly.
the young people are taking control of this shit, and the young people are a much different group of people. They're all
And,
about women. They're all about freedoms. They're all about
and
Roe v. Wade, and it's just going to change everything when
we
that
have,
election happens.
again, being a nerd and a geek, um, Paramount, if you guys get to see it, Strange New Worlds, which is um, a Star Trek, but based on the original Enterprise Captain Pike's adventures. And there's one of the first episodes is that they find out that they have this one planet they may have fucked up because it saw a warp explosion, and they extrapolated how to do warp. But most of them, instead of developing a way of space travel, they developed a bomb
Right.
that was going to end their civilization, and they were in the middle of a civil war. Well, one of their crew, one of their their away team was there to try and investigate. They got captured. So finally, they get them out, and basically, Pike has to basically show them. One guy was telling him, "Hey, you know how you do this. You have a bigger stick." Okay. He drops the Enterprise out of orbit. He goes, "That's my stick." So, but they're having a fight. They're basically, these two sides are about to go to war. He pops up in the middle of the of the of the discussion or the debate or the fight. And the reason they normally don't do it, but since it was all fucked up, they made him an offer. And he discussed what happened to Earth. He discussed the Second Civil War. They had pictures of the January 6th in the show. They showed Washington, D.C. in a nuclear flame. He goes, "This is what we did when we made our choice. And it took us 200 years to get here. And what I'm doing for you guys is showing an opportunity not to do what we did." I mean, he goes, "If you want to blow each other up, do it." I mean, but I'm offering you I'm offering you an opportunity not to do it. And what it shows later on is they took the opportunity, and it shows the future of these people at a peaceful society. We're on the same cusp, guys.
All right.
We are in the opportunity to basically dump everything going back from the Reagan administrations, the Bush administrations, all the hate, all the fights, everything. We are at the cusp to create a new manufacturing era, a place where everyone's taken care of. Social Security, Medicare, the rich would still get rich, but everyone is going to pay their fair share. It's all there. We just have to let go of our stupidity and our hate and look to the future. Us old dudes, our generation, we tried, and some of us really fucked this up.
Yeah.
You guys, and I'm going to say it, and guys, forgive me. Boomers were the worst generation. I'm sorry, guys. We fucked it up to an extent. We
Well,
tried. Some of us
well,
did,
we
some
did
didn't.
some good things too, but yeah,
But
you're right. In the
we
end,
left. So we're at this point where there's a fucking boomer who wants to bring back fascism, and he has a bunch of little minions running around that want to take us back 100 years. But if we go with Harris, if we turn the entire thing blue and follow what the vision that the 81-year-old man Joe Biden has for this country, can you imagine what it's going to be? What history books will write,
yeah,
what they will see?
yeah,
They won't see chaos. They won't see death. They won't see America took 2 centuries to throw out fascism. They're going to see America made a choice and then became more than they thought they could be. And they actually, what the president said in that speech, our dream we never reached of equality, but we can get there. We can get there. But it's time now just to say we vote totally blue. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it because you see what the alternative is.
right.
This is our opportunity. This is our turning point. So
It
let's
is.
take the choice. Let's not blow each other up. All right. And eventually the MAGAs will go back under the rocks. They'll go back to where they were as the tinfoil people we used to think or talk about and laugh. But maybe once they get their opportunities in Eastern Kentucky to have economic and education, it'll change. And that's the only way we can do it. So
Well,
that's my take.
we're going to wrap things up, but I just want to make a statement about Will here. Will, we love having Will on the show because he has a lot of great insights. He's very smart. He knows a lot of stuff, and I learn a lot of stuff every time he's on. But I don't know if people really understand how special and how much you're kind of a unicorn. You're a big Star Trek fan, right?
Huge.
You're a self-professed nerd.
Yes.
In spite of that, you've not only gotten a date, you've gotten married. That's fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah. My wife's a weird nerd. Let me put it this way: she's not a science fiction nerd, but I got Little House on the Prairie books everywhere.
Oh,
She's that type of nerd. And but the nerd, always remember, guys, the nerd is the person that reads everything, and we want to see everything, and we want to understand everything,
right.
because that's the best thing about being that. I'm
Well, you,
proud of it because I turn my kids into it too, to an extent.
wow. Well, you can tell your wife this. If she likes Little House on the Prairie, I live in Minnesota. And
Oh,
there
she
are
wants to go.
and there are a few places in Minnesota, like down by Lake Pepin and some other places,
Hmm.
where there actually is a house where Laura Ingalls Wilder was. And I don't know if it's the Little House on the Prairie, but they were in a number of places in Minnesota
Oh,
and
she
Wisconsin.
has she has a map.
Of course
She
she
went.
does.
That's on her bucket list. She keeps telling me that. I mean, and I going, we'll figure it out. But it's not. I'm proud of it in one sense. There, it is allowed me to think on things that people don't want to think. Because
Yeah.
if you pick up a good story, a speculative fiction or science fiction, then it's taking what could be and what was.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it, I don't like dystopian, and I mean I'll
I
read
don't
it.
either.
I don't like apocalyptic because that can happen. We almost lived through one in 2020. The reason that I like Star Trek because the message from day one as a kid watching it um, was we are better than this.
Right.
The message always with Star Trek would be we are better than this,
Right.
and we could get to this point. Um, and so right now, I feel with all of us, we want to be better. We all want
We're at
we
that
all
tipping
want
point. Yeah,
we're at that
absolutely.
tipping point, and you can see it, you can smell it, and if it goes the other way, I don't know what's going to happen
I don't
because
think it
I
will
won't
go the
see
other
it.
way.
You
I've
don't
said I
either.
believe in destiny, and I think we're on the right track, and it's inevitable that we will come out the other side and things will finally get better. So I'm feeling pretty
Gotcha.
good about it, especially with this whole thing with Kamala. I didn't expect it. I didn't
I didn't
predict it,
expect it.
but I'm happy to see it, and I think we're going to be in good shape when we get to November because Donald Trump's going to implode, so are the Republicans,
He's
and
already.
Kamala's going to keep rolling.
Yeah, let's see what. When you backed out of that debate, mother, dude, I'm sorry. You're all your you can coaches that they're in chaos. No, the Democrats are in chaos. They're on a run.
Right,
You are scared. Your whole thing is scared, and you don't want to deal with this.
right.
So bring it on. Um,
Well, and
that's where we're now.
Kamala's doing the right thing. Every time she puts out a statement, she refers to the 78-year-old criminal, and she's going to shove that in his face every time, and it's going to drive him nuts.
And that's the best thing we can hope for because that's what he is.
Yeah,
And again, um, well, I would have followed Joe Biden to the gates of Mordor, but I understand, old soldier. We're gonna you do your thing. We'll see what we can do to keep it going
yeah,
because that's what it
absolutely.
is. That's what it is. All right. But yeah, we've gone long, and I appreciate you guys letting me talk.
No, no, we're
Again,
happy to have you.
again, if you find me on TikTok, it's Binder 38 US. Take a look.
By
It's
all
a
means,
weird
check it
thing with
out.
TikTok. Yeah,
It,
it's a
it-
weird thing with TikTok because I don't know how that fucking thing works. I just put out bullshit and listen to the assholes who call me fat. Yeah, get in line, dudes. Get in
oh,
line.
that
It is what it
they
is.
I tell you what though, I used to show my wife those negative ones and she used to get really upset. How can you take that? Why do you do that? And I said, honey, you got to realize that I get way more positive input than I do get the negative. It's just that I think the negative's funny.
It's kind of like really. I mean, I like the ones that think that I like the ones I get that saying is he or a she. Really, dude? Honestly,
Well,
damn.
well, with the way some of these people are, you never know. These
Well, I mean,
Republicans aren't the brightest fucks in the world.
they crashed Grinder during the RNC, and um, I mean, I hope they had a good time. That's all I got to say
All I
on
have to
that.
say about that is JD Vance is Peter Thiel's or Peter Thiel best buddy, and between Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, they basically paid Trump to make him the VP. Peter Thiel's an acknowledged gay man, and they're pretty close. I'm not saying that, but
Well, I
that
mean,
he could.
according to one
I-
of
I'm not
Vance's lives, he was gay. He thought he was gay.
JD
Oh,
Vance.
oh yeah, you got it, guys. Everyone, go to Midas Touch on YouTube. They have a whole dossier on frickin' JD Vance. All the stuff that's coming out about JD Vance, like the cat lady statement, some other videos he said, are coming from Midas Touch. They dug him up. This man is a bigger con fraud than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Go to Midas Touch on YouTube, find it. It is enlightening and what they latch themselves onto. That probably he will not be there till September.
And I will just say this so people don't get angry. I'm not, if JD Vance were gay, I'm not giving him shit about being gay. I'm giving him shit about working to hurt gay people.
It's
If
hypocrisy.
it's
If you're a
hypocrisy.
hypocrite, you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
Don't I mean if you do, you get what you deserve. End discussion.
Yeah.
So I have no apologies about that. You get what you deserve. But yeah, look at Midas Touch.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, that will give you the whole lowdown on JD Vance. And again, Binder 30th and TikTok take a views. But you guys, I appreciate you, Mike. It's nice to have someone who kind of thinks the same way I do, knowing that we're not totally fucked.
We're not.
Um,
We're not. We're in
we're
a
not
better position than we were 2 weeks ago.
2
And
weeks
I
ago,
thought
but
we
I
were
mean,
in good shape then.
but of course, but the one thing about we all have to remember the bottom line before I let you guys go. Remember this: each of us that do this and responding to Kamala Harris love our country. We
True.
love the United States of America. Your governor said that too. Donald Trump and MAGA hate America. They say it every time.
They
They
do.
hate the country, and they wrap it in patriotism. That's not patriotism. Always
Absolutely.
remember that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us, Will. I'm sure you'll be back soon. Tomorrow, Ed is going to be on the show. I'm sure he's going to have some insights as to what's
I
going
bet.
on. And we'll learn some stuff from him too. This is what I love. I get a bunch of people who teach me some shit. But thank you for taking the time to listen.
Mhm.
I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.